Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Don't click orange clowns as we say please go away. We don't like your racist lies about non-existent migrant plagues. We can see right through your grift. Your act just makes us sick. You pretend to be their friend with a smile that's fake. But we pets know what you intend. You lying filthy dirty prick. Orange clown, go away. The pets have had enough. No one's tried to eat us lying scum. There is no migrant plague, only a flood of filthy lies. Your filthy racist act must end. With your painted face and tricks, you think you'll win their trust. But the pets are wise and quick. We know about your grifts, filthy, disgusting. Orange clown, you really do make us sick. You juggle and you dance, hoping for a cheer. But every glance and stance and scan shows the pets don't want you near. Orange clown, go away. The pets have had enough. No more games today. Your grips and racist lies are stale. The pets don't want you near. You pretend to be their friend with a smile that's fake. But we pets know what you intend. You're lying filthy, dirty prick. Orange clown, go away. The pets have had enough. No one's trained to eat us lying scum or still. The pets don't want you near. You're filthy, want you near. Your filthy racist act must end. The pesky racist act must end. With your painted face and tricks, you think you'll win their trust. But the pets are wise and quick. We know about your grips. They'll be disgusting. Orange clown, you really do make us sick. You juggle and you dance, hoping for a cheer. But every glance and stance shows the pets don't want you near. Orange clown, go away. The pets have had enough. No more games today. Your grifts and racist lies are stale. The pets don't want you near. You juggle and you dance, hoping for a cheer. But every glance and stance shows the pets don't want you near.
President.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hi, Alf. There was talk of cat eaters, and we have lokifishmarz. How's everybody doing? Oh. Boy, was that debate a stinker. I mean, it inspired that video. Who's in for watching it?
Well, I'm chained to the
Alec,
chair
without
and
further
my
ado,
eyes are taped open, so I guess I'm gonna have to watch it.
Alrighty then.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome
And oh, she so did.
to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the
Yeah, Al, it starts out slow, but it'll get good.
thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children.
That is true. Large corporations come in and they actually purposely bid more than the normal market value. And we have another guest. Hi, dog.
Hello. How are you?
Great. Here in the United States, large corporations are basically buying up houses left and right so that they can rent them out at high, basically higher rates. And they've been bidding up the housing prices ever since the end of the pandemic.
And I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start-up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's debt.
We all know that she's Mrs. Normal. The tax credits and the down payment assistance is actually going to help. We all came from Mr. Abnormal.
Probably the worst in our
and to make
nation's
fun of
history.
him.
A disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions.
When you were president, there were hundreds of thousands of people dying, the economy cratered, and you were trying to pretend that nothing was happening.
Millions of people pouring into our country, from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
No. No, that isn't happening.
Another lecture. He just keeps that same old bullshit. Insane asylums and jails. Fucking idiot.
And they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions.
Jobs that are occupied by people qualified for them, you idiot. You actually had a job that was a black job. It was called president. And it's going to be a black job again.
Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are...
No, they're not.
Is there an Aurora in Colorado? I thought it was in Illinois.
There's a bunch of Auroras, like Waverly. You can't go into a state in the Northeast without finding a Waverly. There's a Waverly, New York, Waverly, Pennsylvania, Waverly, Massachusetts, Ohio, just one of those popular names.
That she and Biden led into our country.
The immigration system has been broken ever since Ronald Reagan threw open the borders in the 1970s as governor of California. And the parties do not Well, businesses do not want it fixed because they enjoy an exploitative, a class that they can exploit.
Yeah.
And they're destroying.
I've also seen like a video of one of the local politicians in Springfield, Republican, says like what he says is bullshit. The problem there is, yes, there are a lot of immigrants coming there. They're welcome. It's just the infrastructure is not capable of keeping up with how many people are there now, because I believe the town like doubled in people that live there now. So it's just, yeah, they need to adapt to more people, and in this case, yeah, it's foreigners that are legally coming into the country and are welcome there because for work, you know.
Destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast.
That's you.
Now, immigrants actually commit less crimes, especially the ones who came into the country and it not being legal because they don't want to get sent back. Most of the, like Slim will say, I wish he was here. He used to, before he went on the relatively law-abiding straight and narrow when it comes to not getting arrested, he used to be a mule because, like, you can come into the country with less scrutiny if you're an American. So the drugs are being mulled in by Americans.
One of the greatest economies in the history of our country.
It cratered in your last year, and there was absolutely no difference between the years where there was growth under you and Obama, outside of we had a circus.
I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump.
Moderator. Well, what's funny about this video is it's actually not showing the moderators fact-checking Donald Trump, but with her comment with, you know, worst unemployment and stuff like that, the funny thing is that at the end of 2020, December 2020, the unemployment rate had fallen back down to 6.4. Granted, that's high, but not higher than multiple spikes from previous recessions. So it's
2020 was a shit show, regardless.
Yeah, it was a shit show either way, but it's kind of one of those, as you'll see through the debate, it's back to politics as usual. Everybody's spinning numbers and nobody's getting called out on it. Because it's like the fact check stuff that I'm looking at is actually from NBC News. The people that hosted the debate.
I grabbed the wrong one. I grabbed this one from MSNBC. It was the first one that came up.
Yeah, MSNBC, NBC. Yeah, they're pretty much the same. They're the same company.
Left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us, and I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
A lot of the people who served in his White House are actually authors of parts of it.
That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to.
So you don't want to read it. You haven't read it, but everyone's telling you it's bad.
That's like,
this is the problem with the man. He does not want to apply himself to do his job.
he's not even doing his homework.
There's a group of people that got together.
It's never his fault. It's always somebody else. Well, it's not me.
No, but
nothing to do with it. Of course
no, but what he's doing here is he's trying to keep it as far away from him as long as possible. So I don't even know what's in there. I haven't even read it.
Yeah, but everyone
all the preachers
you probably approved every page.
Absolutely.
All the preachers who lay hands on him know about it. It's basically Christian nationalism mixed with Madame Blavatsky's bullshit. We don't have to go into it, but it gets weird.
They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest.
Yep, for the rich. He suggests that we go to full tariffs and fund the government that way. And that's just a massive tax hike on those of us who spend most of our pay. It's not going to do anything because a lot of the facilities that were in America 20, 25 years ago are not here. The corporations need justification to bring them back. And that's probably not going to happen. They're just going to pass the costs on to us. The tariffs were a policy that might have worked 30 years ago.
Economy, we got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic.
Wasn't America one of the worst with COVID?
Yeah, and he was talking about injecting people with disinfectants and putting lights inside their bodies.
Surely as well, on the subject of tariffs, wouldn't that damage America's export business as well? Because if he's going to put these like stupidly high tariffs onto goods coming into the country from foreigners, they're just going to recuperate. By charging America.
They're just going to retaliate. Yes, they will retaliate. It does nothing at this point. It was a policy for 30 years ago.
So technically, his idea will put interest all over the world because everyone will start charging tariffs.
To America.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilation.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get one country that increases tariffs, so the countries in response will increase tariffs, and then the original country will increase tariffs, and so on and so forth. And basically, the only people that win are actually the corporations.
Yeah, Trump's a great businessman, isn't he? Fucking idiot. Go on, play on.
For the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But
you ignored its existence, you asshole.
He said it would go away by miracle. It'll just disappear, he says. Look, it's still here, it's
the
still
only
killing
job
people.
they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit.
There is
16 Nobel laureates
there is background noise.
Have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know.
I was a machinist for 15 years, and I can tell you over the last 20 years of expertise and skill, people not going into the field, the numbers of people who are qualified to do the job right now are actually nowhere near the job openings. So the pay is getting higher, which will encourage people to go back in. But America is probably not going to be the economic powerhouse we were relative to the rest of the world as far as manufacturing goes for some time. That's the human capital is needed. You can't just take someone off the street and have them know how to set up a production
That Donald
line.
Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create.
Please name these professors. Have them come out and risk their reputation for you.
A lot of good,
because
solid
they,
money for our country.
That's probably because those professors all have a lot of money and have businesses or something.
They still, if he's not naming them, they don't exist. That's a way I'm going to put it.
Just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just.
That reminds me of the cognitive test that he boasts that he passed.
Oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Well, if she copied a plan, then she does have one, right?
If something's working, don't dismantle it.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have?
Yes, they will.
Well, it makes common sense. And not only that, the manufacturers are going to charge more for the goods because, you know, these higher tariffs, they're not going to pay tariffs without charging for it. You know, they're going to recuperate their money somehow. by charging more for the goods, and that will hike prices up anyway.
Where I stand is I am pro-manufacturing, but this is not going to help. It would have helped 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
This is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen.
Dude, you spent the country silly. We spent the country silly during the pandemic in order not to go into a deflationary spiral.
Plus, you put the
it's just something that happens.
9 trillion.
And then part of the reason why we had inflation was corporations were making record profits. Who knew that record profits?
Because he was giving them tax breaks for backhanders.
Well, it's not. It's also the fact that we don't enforce our antitrust laws here in America like we should.
Period of time, people can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country.
And for everyone, I should have clipped the highlights out rather than going through the entire thing. But I thought it was more honest to go through the entire thing.
Are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was.
Oh, shit.
When we know that she was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have.
Good Chips Act. They literally took federal money to buy equipment to encourage chip manufacturers to bring jobs back to America.
Say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But
hey,
if she ever
send a
got
MAGA
elected,
hat to
she'd
Biden.
change it.
He'll wear it.
He did put one on, didn't he?
Yeah, that was actually a very funny video. That was a very funny video.
And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor, and he.
Oh my goodness. He doesn't even know what the fuck that word means
or
what Marxism is.
He hasn't even spiraled out yet. It's about 11 minutes in. It's over.
When you start calling someone a Marxist, yeah. So Marxism comes in two halves. Complaining about how rich people do bad things to poor people, which has valid points. And then the second half, which is getting rid of private property and making everyone a slave to oligarchs.
Economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the.
So millions and millions and millions of people who have been pouring into America monthly. So wouldn't we at some point have the entire fucking world here?
Absolutely. I don't understand where, he makes these numbers up. he just you've seen him when he come out. He said, "Oh yeah, we won that debate. I've looked at all the polls: 83, 73%, 90%, 85%." And so in the background, I said, "Where are you getting them numbers from?" He just fucking makes them up. The guy's a clown. You don't.
Later on, well, that's what the song was. Later on, when he starts talking about Ukraine, he talks about how millions and millions and millions of people have died, but yet he sits there and says, if I was president, Putin would still be sitting in Moscow in need of 300,000 more troops that wouldn't have died. So he's saying millions and millions and millions, and then he's giving a number of how many orcs died. So he's pulling numbers out of
15 that people say.
Most of Ukraine have been relocated around Europe. I mean, we have them here, just so they're safe. But they
women and children mostly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our
They're not criminals.
economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy.
Ukraine had an immigration bill. Well, I know everyone doesn't like him.
When we know that she was responsible for
to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short, and you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West.
I'd love to know where he gets these
That
facts
doesn't
from.
happen. Out of his ass.
That's what people should be asking. Where do you get these facts from?
I mean, literally, no one no one murders children after they leave the one.
Well,
West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but
Not
the
the
governor
parents.
before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in
He can't win against the actual party that exists. He needs to make something up. For those who just arrived, Trump just got done claiming that we allow people to end the lives of babies after they're born because he's a ridiculous sack of nonsense.
that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think is a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says.
So you can look at her face.
At the end of the day, you know, you wouldn't have bought a baby. If anyone willing to carry a baby that long obviously wanted that baby. And they can be born at the 7th or the 8th month by C-section and survive. But I don't know. I don't get him at all. He's just a fucking idiot. He literally is the most stupid person on planet Earth.
On this
once
point,
or
he's
twice.
definitely. Go ahead.
No, it may have happened once or twice to, for instance, save the mom. For whatever reason, like I can imagine that it has happened at some point.
Well,
but like not as like standard, like, oh yeah, I've decided not to keep the baby. Hell no. Like,
well, 9 months, it would be the baby's not viable outside the womb, and mom is at risk. They don't have a perfectly viable baby and then kill it in the womb.
Execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart.
Dude, Gray wanted everyone with any sense wanted to keep Roe versus Wade because you have the back alley abortions. You assholes.
For 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican.
Well, hell,
Lies.
under the current situation, Reagan would not be considered a Republican. He wouldn't be accepted as a Republican under the current party profile.
Well, to be honest, Trump isn't a Republican. He never has been. This is MAGA. This isn't the Republican Party. This is a totally different. This is an offshoot of it. This is why so many Republicans are ditching him, because he's a fucking fool.
This whole segment about about the abortion thing. This is one of the instances where he's just pulling shit out of his ass.
Well, even Marjorie Taylor Greene is sort of fucking watching her own back now and sort of having a go at these extreme MAGA, because she knows that they've lost, and she's trying to save her own fucking skin by having a go at like Laura Loomer and things like that, saying, "Oh, if Kamala Harris gets in, the whole White House will smell of curry," and all that, and then real vile, racist, fucking horrible things.
Oh,
she had to go after that.
Will the whole White House smell of curry? Oh, can they please invite me?
I tell you, when I cook a curry, I love the smell in my house, in my little flat. I just love it. Close all the windows to keep it in there. Yeah. Now,
liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote.
No, they didn't.
And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal.
What does that tell you? Even Republicans don't like getting rid of Roe versus Wade. It was the dog chasing the car, and the dog caught the car.
More liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme
You did nobody a service with that.
Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
And those were lying sacks of crap justices, and they're spurring a movement to actually change the Supreme Court now, because Clarence Thomas is taking bribes from billionaires, and it's looking
There's no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Yeah, it never should have. It never should have been turned over to the states, because then what'll end up happening is that the policies regarding it will change depending on who the hell's in office in those states. So if a state flips to Republican, then there's bans. If a state then a couple of years later flips back to Democrat, then the bans will be taken away, and it's just chaos. It was a really stupid idea. It should have been left at the federal level.
Again, this is just religion that's just got involved here. This is religion. When abortion is we know it's a I'm not for abortion at all, but if it protects a woman and if it protects the right of a baby or whatever, I'm for it then.
But
the health of the woman.
But like saying somebody's pro-abortion is like somebody's pro-amputation.
Yeah.
Or pro-heart surgery.
It's
when it's needed, it's needed.
Yeah, it's a medical.
It's a medical thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, especially later on in the pregnancy, the further it goes on, the less likely it is to be elective. And at some point, it's not elective. And the second and third trimester. No one does that electively at that point. Religion has a lot to do with it. Now, there's Book of Numbers, chapter 5, verse 11 through 22. It's the jealousy offering. If a husband thinks his wife's been unfaithful, take her to the priests, yada, yada.
Drink a bit of water, all that nonsense.
Yeah, and it's supposed to, if she's done something wrong, the baby is going to come out. It's right there. And the reason why, and now this is Jewish tradition, life begins at first breath as far as punishing someone for taking the life, because you need to know the person was going to be born before, there's uncertainty. It was Bronze Age, but religion should absolutely have nothing to do with this level of public policy or doctrine.
There she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've got.
He's talked about a ban before.
What everybody wanted, Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states.
I'm no legal scholar, but I've always wondered, what about the right to travel, the constitutional right to travel between states? Because Texas already has basically said, we're going to have $10,000 for anyone who stops an abortion. So there's a bounty, $10,000 for anyone who stops an abortion. That includes someone going cross state lines.
And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible.
I think in 74 or 75, 76, somewhere in around there, before the formalization of the, quote, moral majority, the Southern Baptist Convention was for limited abortions. They were for abortions in certain circumstances. And then they went hard on the no abortion thing shortly after Pat Robertson started his bullshit.
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended.
Yeah, your guys decided to sue to stop it. And you need 60 votes to pass gas.
Ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and
her boss has held the free world together over the past 2 years.
He had a break and he went to the beach, and that is it. From a guy who spent all his time on the fucking golf course when he was president, he just picks up on a break that Biden took. He's allowed a break.
I do think that Trump actually wound up taking more time off than any other president.
Said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free.
You didn't have, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? She didn't have to pay back her money from the rescue bailouts. A whole bunch of people didn't have to pay it back. And before the 1970s or 80s, before the Reagan era, we put more emphasis on education, and then people are getting the college degrees and they're becoming rich. So let's make it so that you can't discharge the debt.
But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. in all fairness. J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people.
See, here in the UK, we have student loans. But when I was growing up, we had student grants, where you were granted your education from the government.
Yeah.
They stopped that. They stopped that. It's all student loans because, believe it or not, it costs a fucking fortune to educate someone.
Yeah, but here we're going back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because like loans, like if you do loans, you're starting people off with such a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way the
my
loan
mom's-
system, the way the loan system is set up is now it's, I mean, I know people that are still trying to pay off their student loans, and it's literally like that that cheap ass build your credit, kind of deal where it's a rolling interest rate that just constantly multiplies, and that's how students are ending up, millions of dollars in debt for just going to college for a couple of years.
Yeah. You need to, you go to college to be getting a high paying job so you can have the ability to pay it off. Here, the student loans, I believe, are tax free. It's not increased at all. I think you get that loan and then you pay back what you loaned. You don't pay any on top of it. I think that was the agreement from when it changed from student grants. Because if you were viable enough, obviously, if you left high school with qualifications to go to college or university, then you would receive a grant. You would get an offer of a grant for your. You have to apply for it, obviously, and you would get it. But it as I say, it cost a hell of a lot. It really did. But we pay. People say, "Oh, in Britain, oh, we've got free healthcare." No, we have not got free healthcare. We pay for the healthcare via taxes. It's in it's a bit like it's a permanent tax. You just pay it, and what you pay in the taxes goes towards healthcare. And granted, like drug prices, see, when I ended up in a wheelchair, I now don't pay for drugs. I get them free. I've got a £5,000 wheelchair I got for free. But it's not mine, if you get me. I've got a hospital bed I use now. And I've got a riser recliner chair. They're not mine. They're mine as long as I'm alive, but they have to go back to the NHS, if you understand. So, you don't get all this.
We do understand.
You don't get all this, you don't keep it. Obviously, things like the catheters and stuff I use, they're not going to go back. Obviously, they're used. But finances are incredibly difficult when you're talking about a country. And Trump failed. I mean, fucking hell, he bankrupted fucking casinos. What's up with it? The guy's a fucking the worst businessman on earth.
Student loans. The subject was that. My mom's entire master's degree was $3,000. And that was when we subsidized education. I think we spent over 30% of GDP subsidizing education when the GI Bill first came out. Anyway, let's move on because we lost a lot of viewers if that thing is supposed to be
other people
accurate.
that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on.
Yep. He's talking about abortion too. So But he's talking about abortion. Yep. You handed the Democrats a victory in 2022 with the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening.
She's fucking
Look
brilliant.
at the duck face.
Got that?
That's the duck face.
Well, he's daffy dog,
under
isn't he?
Donald
Trump. With, you know, Elon Musk after that podcast.
Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie.
Yeah, you've gotten your ass handed to you.
doesn't
And
go-
whenever it's come up for a vote, pro-choice has won.
I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
Oh my goodness.
Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside, and then we did.
We decide what we want to do with it. Fucking hit it with a fucking hammer or.
That is particular when the baby's not going to live very long, and the birth defects are basically, according to any reasonable doctor, unsurvivable, and the baby's been born. Whether or not you can refuse resuscitation rather than spend millions of dollars on a lost cause. Loki, you actually were in. I was in Virginia at the time Governor Northam said the things that they're twisting. You recall anything?
Yeah, actually, in this situation, Trump misspoke. He was actually discussing. He was talking about West Virginia versus Virginia. So he basically misspoke through the whole thing and then put his spin on it.
What's the difference?
Not much, really. It again, I expressed my position where it should all be left at the federal level.
Well, yeah.
Determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about...
It goes downhill from here for Trump. Straight from here, it just goes fucking downhill for him.
I should have started the stream here.
She baited him rotten, and she is, even though he's a wanker, she is a master baiter. He just fucking loses it from here completely. This is fucking hilarious. From here, I watched this live. I stayed up after Slim's show. Well, it was just started when we were on Slim's show. It started about 20 minutes in. I rewinded back to the beginning, and after here, I did nothing but laugh. Before that, I was saying, Trump, you're full of shit. You're a lying cunt. But after this, it's nothing but laugh. He just loses it.
Windmills cause cancer.
Windmills cause cancer, sharks.
And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
Look at his face.
You will not hear him talk about your needs, your...
The Donald Duck face.
Oh, just look at his face. He's like, he's seething. He's fucking seething, the bloke.
Dreams and your need and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light.
She just knows he's lost it now. She knows that finally got him.
Yeah.
You see it in her face, can't you? She just says, yeah, got you, you prick. Downhill.
Yeah, I mean, this whole tactic was just a, grade school playground taunting, and he fell for it.
Yeah. Well, this is what what's her face said. Hillary Clinton. She said if you can be baited by a tweet, then you compromise straight away. If a tweet can bait you, then what point do you have? It's like that Kevin Sorbo. He's just monstrous. But he never reads his responses, even though everyone responds to him, saying you're just a wanker. Has been. And
she's playing with her food right now.
He should basically just say what he says and ignore the aftermath. But he doesn't. He's constantly watching fucking news and all this shit and trying to make up new lies. Oh, I can get away with that by saying this. Another lie. But yeah, after this, it's just, this is one of the... Because I actually thought Donald Trump, at the beginning, I thought, oh, fucking hell, he got his head screwed on tonight. He's saying things. He seems normal. But after this, it was just turned into a fucking clown car of a show. It was funny. Funny. Go on, play it.
she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here?
You almost were successful in sicking a mob on Congress. You try to take out Congress to make yourself a dictator. You are the reason why we are close to failing.
Yeah, but America isn't close to failing. You got the best, you got the best economic structure in the world at the moment. The rest of the world is struggling with high taxes and living rights and things like that. We're all struggling. But America is doing fucking great. And we know they've got the strongest economy. And that's because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And
the only way that continues is democracy. Because without democracy, the despots will just loot everything.
Yeah, well, democracy with a hint of socialism, involved. That's the way the world works. Everyone else knows that, apart from this prick. Because like the living wage, the living wage, the minimum wage, and things like that. That's a socialist. That's a bit socialist type of thing, where people will get low-paying jobs.
Something that we've been living. That's something we've been living with since like the 1940s. I don't know why people have a problem with it here.
No, they can't.
You're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening.
Numbers being pulled out of his ass.
To the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dog.
There we go.
He fell for it. He fell for JD. I think JD Vance is actually a ringer because he keeps saying he keeps throwing Donald Trump under the fucking bus. He always said he was a never Trump guy, and I think at the end of this, when Trump loses, he's going to say, "I made it fucking happen." That's what I believe, because he's saying JD Vance says, of course he'll fucking veto the abortion ban and things like that, and JD Vance was the first one to pick up on the Haitians population of Springfield, Ohio, eating the pets of people.
But that doesn't happen.
Of course, doesn't happen.
Law enforcement would never put up with it. Springfield, Ohio, I think, is run by Republicans. It's a smaller city and conservative, so it wouldn't be the liberals to blame. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know the city manager they called and asked was actually a Republican. But that's not how the world works. He's transported people into his fantasy world.
The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Look at Kamala.
I love that smile.
Pissing herself on it. She is just pissing herself laughing at it. Fucking idiot.
Of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies.
He just
I'm just laughing.
The concern, as far as the reason they go, is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again.
You're a pile of ridiculous. They just want to troll us with you. That's what they want. I 100% believe. Yeah,
America to me has always been great. I love the place. I've been there countless times. I've been all over that country, and I absolutely adore the Americans. They're great people, and British people as well. They love to have us there. They're very friendly and so fucking friendly. I love it. I really do.
You know,
the last time I went there, I went to Florida for a month. That was actually a holiday. It wasn't working. But I loved it. And the people we did from the Panhandle right the way down to Key West. And it was just awesome. It was the best holiday I've ever had in my life. And it wasn't the place, it was the people. Because fuck Disney World or Disneyland in Florida. Fuck it, shit. It's not for me.
Very simple phrase. Make America great again.
America is, yes, already great. I mean, you know, the time that I was most proud to be an American was in front of the military headquarters in Kyiv. And there was this soldier selling his little blue and yellow ribbons. And he basically found out I spoke English, and with what little English that he had, he said, "Fuck Putin, I love America," and gave me a big hug. Just for being an American.
She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
Isn't he the one who said he wanted to go to Caracas if Harris won? He said he wanted to go to Caracas. Is that the capital of Venezuela? I think it is. With all the aftermath of Maduro and all that. Yeah, Caracas is the capital.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
And we're going to have to cut this short soon because I do have to get to work.
Within the immigrant community,
Well,
all
I've
this.
seen people on television.
Let me just say.
Yeah, he watched it on TV. I saw people on television. You shut up, you fucking dick.
Yeah, the Haitian thing is kind of stupid. That I looked into it. I looked into a couple of independent explorations, independent journals looking into it. And even they're just like, yeah, there's like nothing. No, there's anecdotal, there's people saying stuff, but other than that, yeah, there was nothing.
Here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
say their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former secretary of defense has said the nation, the republic, would never.
Oh, my voice is bleeding through.
A little bit,
bleeding through.
Yeah, I think you're not wearing headphones. And I think
I am wearing headphones. They're just too loud. Okay. My thing is driving people away, I guess. Let me lower my headphones.
Yeah, or just mute when you don't
another
talk.
Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top.
He put the Taliban back in power. He had the Taliban at his fucking Mar-a-Lago estate. He put them back in power.
Yes, he did.
And basically, beheadings started again in Afghanistan, and they happen every week. If you're gay in Afghanistan, they won't only behead you; they'll behead everyone. They'll go into schools and behead the children, and behead your wife, your fucking mother, your father, your brother, your sister. They'll behead your whole family. They'll just wipe that whole bloodline out of existence because you're gay. And that's not a choice. We know that's not a choice. This is the extreme Muslimism for you, which is what the Taliban is, extreme Muslim.
Well, I'd rather say that's extreme religion, because, like, if the white nationalists
is Muslimism a religion?
Yeah.
Well, that's what.
But like, if the Christian nationalists in America would have their way, it would be exactly the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. Where do you think the Muslims got it from? They got it from old Christianity. You know, Christianity back in the day would chop your hands off and behead you, or throw kids to bears and whatnot. You know, this is what it is. This is religion for you, through and through. And, you know, Donald Trump has sort of, he's got on the, he's sort of crying out to the evangelicals for the vote, and even a lot of them are turning against him now. They're thinking, "Fucking hell, this guy's insane," because he is. He's fucking insane. But there's that many different types of Christianity in America, because you know, that is the extreme of religion. Yeah. It can be bought and changed and whatever. That's the way religion works. And I apologize for bringing up my old atheist persona.
But also for all the Christians in America, do realize if Christianity is becoming part of the government, then the government is going to decide how you should be a Christian.
Oh, yeah, and then the whole freedom, and then your whole freedom to be a Christian actually goes out the window the moment that the government decides what a Christian is, because then, like, whenever you mix church and state, they can't help but use the state to mutilate the religion to the point where it just functions as a rubber stamp for dear leader and nothing more.
Unfortunately, religion has its fingers in every pie. So the lawmakers here, the House of Lords in Britain, has Catholic cardinals and priests in amongst them lords that pass these laws here. And the same will be in America. Them Christians will be fucking all up in politics. Of course they are. You know, it's a bigger interest than the people. The religion, no one cares about it. Religion definitely doesn't care about the people. They just want you to give them money so you'll go to heaven. That's all it is. You pay your way into heaven, basically. That's how it goes. But even they don't know that heaven isn't real. How can it be real? Where the fuck is it, place? You know. See,
guys,
between a woman's legs. Oh,
I'm at the point that, you know, I am immortal. My body will never die because it will just change. My consciousness will cease to be. But my body will remain, because you can't destroy matter. Matter cannot be destroyed. It'll just be altered. So I'll become worm food. Or if I'm cremated, I'll become fucking smoke. Either or, that'll be me. Then religion cannot fucking get above science. The Catholics tried it by apologizing for Galileo in the 90s, but they still failed.
It did him a hell of a lot of good when he was dead.
People, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen.
Basically, Trump didn't even involve the Afghan government in the negotiations.
No.
He basically just did it by himself in the middle of his brain farts.
So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them.
You said that they were all geniuses and you fired nearly everyone who finally gets sick of you. You said that they were all geniuses and you were the best HR person in the world and all that. If he's the best HR person in the world, why does he fire almost everyone who comes in contact with him?
It's all about power with him. That's all it is. He just wants the power and he craves it. That's all it is with him. He just craves that power.
But also, wasn't he fired by, what was it, 81 million people?
Yeah, we'll come into that.
Yes.
And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? They have done such a poor job. And they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look.
They never fire anyone because they hire competent people, you asshole. They finally got sick of the people who were working for you. They got sick of you. Either that or they went to prison.
You can say his choice in people can be quite bad because look at J.D. Vance, his running mate.
The couch fucker.
Yeah.
Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by.
You know who got more votes than you, Joe Biden?
Well, yeah. She's going to say that.
Than any Democrat in history.
Yeah, he got more votes than any sitting president in history.
Just a silly question, but is that like, does it have anything to do with there just generally being more people in America?
This guy's never won a popular vote. He got in. Well, he got in by cheating because we found this out. He's getting fined for that. Or he's gone to jail for that, the election interference thing, which he will go to jail later this month. When Juan Marchon sentences him, he's put it off so far.
And see, thing is, with that whole thing, this goes to his character. He could have paid off the porn star and just said, here's the check, be done with it. But he wanted to write it off as a business expense, which is the reason why we even know about it.
And not only that, it's that he can't pardon himself from this one because it's a civil state crime and not a federal crime. He can only pardon himself for federal crime. So all the stuff that's going on with Judge Cannon and all that shit, she's just corrupt as fuck.
And still, I think that is the stupidest thing ever. Yeah, that a president can pardon himself.
Yeah, I pardon myself. But this is what they're saying. He's got this. He's got this new. The Supreme Court giving this new immunity thing. And if you were innocent, why would you fucking go for this immunity thing? If you were innocent,
he does not have that immunity. Biden
does.
No,
he keeps telling everyone, "Oh, it's innocent. It wasn't me. It was someone else. It was, I'm innocent. This never happened. This never happened." Why would you need immunity if you were fucking innocent? Why?
Yeah, he wants to be able to do whatever the hell he wants.
In fact, I got more
He
votes
needs
than
the
any
immunity
president.
to fully utilize Project 2025. That's what he needs the immunity for.
Well, here's reality for you. If I got arrested tomorrow and say I murdered someone, and I hadn't, I would just let the cards fly and let them go. You know, let the evidence take court. If evidence points towards me, then I'm going to obviously say I'm framed. You know, this is wrong. I've never been in that place. But you know, these forensics and all sorts now. It is hard. You know, every murderer is normally is convicted because they did the fucking crime these days. There's so much, you know, evidence that they produce.
He wants to do illegal things. He wants to be a dictator.
Yeah,
he wants to do things that he knows would get anyone else thrown in prison. The document case, for example, prime example, if I took a blueprint for a fucking door handle from Huntington Ingalls home, I would have been thrown in prison to this very day. And that was something that wasn't classified. If I brought nuclear power plant prints home, they'd basically, I don't think I'd be alive.
President in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well.
Vote for me
President
now,
Trump,
and you'll
you
never
called
have
this
to
the
vote again.
Yep.
largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police,
He wants to deport 10 million people, tens of millions of people. He wants to do it quick. That's going to be a giant clusterfuck. I'm the only one in the household with a passport. I don't have my birth certificate because it got stolen out of my bag, that got stolen out of my car. So if I didn't have my passport, I would have no proof of citizenship whatsoever. And
you're not getting new birth certificate.
well, yeah, well, I'm going to be moving soon, so they want to send it to addresses with your ID.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know the crime in Venezuela?
Well, then that would be an asylum case, wouldn't it?
Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down. You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this.
No. Who says that they are criminals? We don't let criminals in here when we catch them.
This will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get.
The UK anymore. He's a felon. We don't allow felons in the UK.
Yeah.
He can't travel here anymore. So
he can't travel to Canada either.
No, anything by the monarchy. So South Africa, he can't go there. India, well, I suppose India is more India now. It's not the UK. So Canada,
well,
Australia,
India, they would let him. I'm pretty sure they would let him because Prime Minister Modi declared him a minor deity in 2015.
They probably let him in because he looks like when they have that in the Indian festival where they throw coloured paint on people, coloured powder on people, and people are all multicolored. They put that in because he's had orange powder fucking slung on his face.
Guys, I do have to get to work now. We're going to end this. I thank everyone for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that was awesome.